Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivicharya Astu Tarasya Divine Grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिविचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमंगेश भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर धाम की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय मायापुर नदी धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा मई जमुना मई की जय तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय समवेत भक्तवृंद की जय ऑल ग्लोरीज assembled devotees all glories assembled devotees all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Welcome everyone to Srimad Bhagavatam with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. It is Monday, May 12th, and today we're starting with verse Canto 4, Chapter 14, Text 30. Vichite satkritastena bija pandita manina agnayam bhavya yashnayam tasme vidura chikrudu.
I can just add, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Yes.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Continue, please.
Translation. My dear Vidura, all good fortune unto you. The foolish king, who thought himself very learned, thus insulted the great sages, and the sages, being broken-hearted by the king's words, became very angry at him. Any thoughts from Maharaj or others on this?
Here's that Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatare. Here's this Manina compound again. Pandit Manina, we find in Bhagavatam also, Vimukta Manina, thinking themselves liberated. But here, and thinking oneself learned. So it's understood that means not liberated, not learned. In other words, foolish. Hare Krishna.
Jai Maharaj, Hare Krishna. I noticed here the example of the sages becoming angry, as opposed to this is a prime example of maybe an extreme example of the yasya prasadam nagati kutopi principle. And the word, I thought this word is interesting and very colorful. Chukraduhu became very angry.
And the Satkrita, he insulted the great sages. That means he ruined himself. And Agnayam Havya Yachnayam, he discarded their requests. And the sages were broken-hearted. They tried, but this is what happened. Hare Krishna.
I see Madhupati Prabhu is on the call. Madhupati Prabhu, would you like to read 31? If you're able to.
Yeah, okay. Let's which chapter is that?
14:31.
Okay. Okay. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Gurudas Jayadvaita Swami. Hanyataam esha papa prakriti dharana जीवन जगत आसव आसु कुरुते भस्मसात् ध्रुवम्. all the great saintly sages immediately cried, "Kill him, kill him. He is the most dreadful, sinful person. If he lives, he will certainly turn the whole world into ashes in no time." Purport. Saintly persons are generally very kind to all kinds of living entities. But they are not unhappy when a serpent or a scorpion is killed. It is not good for saintly persons to kill, but they are encouraged to kill demons, who are exactly like serpents and scorpions. Therefore, all the saintly sages decided to kill King Vena, who was so dreadful and dangerous to all human society. We can appreciate the extent to which the saintly sages actually control the king. If the king or government becomes demoniac, it is a duty of a saintly person to upset the government and replace it with deserving persons who follow the orders and instructions of saintly persons. Om Ajnanatimandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurmitanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. King Vena was so grateful and envious. Mentioned like living entities like scorpion or serpents should not be spared. Similarly, demons like in garb of a king, King Venus, should not be spared. So immediately the saintly persons here cried out, kill him, and they were all ready to kill him and be replaced. A king is needed, but not like King Vena. So if they become demoniac, it's the duty of the saintly person to upset the government and then replace it with deserving persons. That's all.
Quite a significant statement here. If the king or government becomes demonic, it's the duty of a saintly person to upset the government and replace it with deserving persons who follow the orders and instructions of saintly persons. This is essentially Srila Prabhupada is advocating sedition. He's generally we hear that devotees are not meant to involve themselves in political affairs. This is not the duty of Brahmins. They should be engaged in their own prescribed duties. Yes, come in. They should be engaged in their own prescribed duties. Yajan, Patan, Dana, particularly, to perform sacrifice and engage others in sacrifice, to become learned and make others learned, and to accept charity and distribute charity. But here we find it's their duty to overthrow the government. Quite an extreme action. Nothing is more, is a greater, what's the word, offense or a greater act in political affairs than to overthrow a government. Well, maybe there are some things, but that's just about at the top. High treason, of course. So, but here Prabhupada advocates this, that a saintly person should do this. He should overthrow a demonic king or demonic government. Of course, it's exceptional. We don't find Bhagavatam full of examples of sages overthrowing governments. But here the government is extreme. The government of King Vena, or the king himself, is extreme, and the sages kill him. They regicide, the murder of the king, execution of the king. Well, we won't go into what the traditional punishments were for regicide in, say, the United Kingdom, England. But this is an extreme act to defy the king, assassinate the king, and replace the king. But here it's said that a saintly person should do this. It's quite something. Hare Krishna. Oh, also one comment. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, he'll turn the whole world to ashes. Therefore, he should be turned to ashes. Turn him to ashes first before he incinerates the whole world. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu writes, is this expression that Vena will turn the whole world into ashes hyperbole?
Yes. Certainly King Vena, although he might have been powerful, he's not an Antashesh. He can't turn the world to ashes. That's reserved for the personality of Godhead. So it is hyperbole, but hyperbole serves a function. It's not just useless jabber. It's meant to indicate that he'll create havoc, he'll create huge destruction. Hare Krishna.
Kendra Prabhu writes, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, he will turn the world to ashes, therefore he should be turned to ashes. And Praveen Krishna Prabhu writes, Chanakya overthrew the previous government and installed Chandragupta without any mystic power, a powerful Brahmana.
Like Kendra Prabhu has something to say.
I was going to ask you, Maharaj, whether during Prabhupada's manifest presence, I can imagine there might have been some persons among his disciples who would have taken this particular statement very seriously and might have formed a branch of ISKCON to overthrow governments, or if Prabhupada was ever himself asked about this particular point.
I don't think he was asked about this purport in particular, but he was, if I think of governments, he really, disliked is not strong enough, but he was, as we say, down on the government of the former Soviet Union, a godless, demonic government where he saw that people were unhappy, people were deprived of natural prosperity, that the government was appropriating to itself so much, and particularly that they were godless. As a policy, they were atheistic and therefore demonic. And also, what would you say, incompetent, or yes, incompetent in the sense that they were going in the wrong direction, making the citizens miserable. So Prabhupada, I think he made clear by his statements that this was a government that should be overthrown. I think he had the United States in mind as the agent for overthrowing them. But yeah, but he didn't ask, he didn't assign any devotees the task of helping to overthrow the Soviet Union. ISKCON never established a special forces division or anything along those lines. But it's you could see how this is a purport someone could take and run with also. After assassinating whichever leader we despise, we cite this purport and say, well, it was my religious duty. One has to be careful.
Maharaj, if I may add something to that extent, instead Prabhupada went himself to Soviet Union and made one devotee, and from him the Krishna consciousness movement spread there.
Yes. And the Soviet government also ceased to exist. Of course, Russian government still exists, but the Soviet Union essentially dissolved. I don't know that we can assign a causal chain there, but that is what.
Thank you.
Madhubati Prabhu writes, not government, but in Juhu temple fight, when the biggest opponent died, Srila Prabhupada liked it and compared it to snake being killed.
Yes. Prahlad Maharaj says that the saintly persons are pleased when a snake or a scorpion is killed. So, yes.
Now,
Just as an aside, I think Jadurani back in the early days, 1967 or something, had written to Prabhupada something about something that she felt she wanted to kill the demons or something like that. And Prabhupada said to leave these matters to her godbrothers.
for text 32, I'm wondering if Panchatattva Prabhu is able to read.
Sure. Nayam arhatya sadbrito naradeva varasanam yodiyagya patim vishnum vinandatyan napatrapaha. The saintly sages continued, this impious, impudent man does not deserve to sit on the throne at all. He is so shameless that he even dared insult the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. Purport. One should not at any time tolerate blasphemy and insults against Lord Vishnu or his devotees. A devotee is generally very humble and meek, and he is reluctant to pick a quarrel with anyone, nor does he envy anyone. However, a pure devotee immediately becomes fiery with anger when he sees that Lord Vishnu or his devotee is insulted. This is the duty of a devotee. Although a devotee maintains an attitude of meekness and gentleness, it is a great fault on his part if he remains silent when the Lord or his devotee is blasphemed. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Gurudasa Jayadvaita Swami Niti Namine Om Agyana Tamarandasya Gananjana Sarakaya Chakshurum Litam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So what immediately comes to mind for me, since my mind likes to branch off, but it's in line here, is that the very first of the 10 offenses against the holy name is to blaspheme a devotee who's dedicated their life to the propagation of the holy names of the Lord. Devotees are described here as meek and humble, and certainly that's the case. And for their own sake, they'll tolerate so much if they are actually advanced in spiritual consciousness. But if they see a devotee or the Lord being blasphemed, or what to speak of attacked or whatever, they will act to defend the Lord and his devotee. They won't stand by and think, well, it's all right. They'll do something. Actually, Srila Prabhupada writes here that it's actually a fault if a devotee, a great fault, if he remains silent. In other words, if he at least doesn't speak up and say this is wrong and explain why. Of course, for the purpose of explaining why it's wrong, one should know something of the Shastra and should know how to properly rebut or defeat a person who is blaspheming the Lord or his devotees. Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj, would you like to say something?
He's not a deva. He's supposed to be a god among men or godly man, but a sattvita. He's acting sinfully. So how sinfully? He's insulting the Supreme Personality of Godhead shamelessly. So how despicable. The king is supposed to be, the real duty of the king is to lead the citizens in worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here this rascal is declaring himself the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's vile. In the same way, spiritual teachers are meant to direct their students toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A teacher who declares himself the Supreme Personality of Godhead is similarly vile. He's supposed to be the servant of the Supreme Lord, but he wants to declare himself the Supreme Lord, or take the privileges of the Supreme Lord. To imitate the Supreme Lord, he'll play with the wives of others or what have you. He's supposed to be godly. He's supposed to be the Sakshadari, Tvena, supposed to be the representative of the Lord. And he wants to act like the Lord. So he's so sinful. Bad enough to be sinful, but to be just the opposite of what one is supposed to be is vile. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu writes in the chat, Odifta Sadur Api Krishchika Sarpa Hatya. Even a saintly person is pleased when a scorpion or a snake is killed.
One should not, if one tolerates offenses, blasphemy of a saintly person or the Lord, and one himself becomes contaminated by sinful activities, sinful reactions. One must protest. Hare Krishna.
Now we're on text 33. I'm wondering if Mahesh Pandit Prabhu would be able to read.
Yes. Kauvainam parichakshita venamekam mrute ashubham prapta idarshamai shwaryam yada anugraha bhajana. But for King Vena, who is simply inauspicious, who would blaspheme the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose mercy one is awarded all kinds of fortune and opulence. Purport. When human society individually or collectively becomes godless and blaspheme the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is certainly destined for ruination. Such a civilization invites all kinds of bad fortune due to not appreciating the mercy of the Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Sastamai Shri Guru Namaha. So here, instead of praising Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vena said, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everybody should worship me. And then that way he blasphemed the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And here in this translation, Prabhupada said that one can get all kinds of benefit, fortune, and opulence just by praising the Supreme Personality of God. And that way one gets his mercy. We can see that if people becomes godless, or the society becomes godless, then all kinds of problem arises, because they are not pouring the water at the root. If you pour the water at the root of the tree, all the branches and all the leaves and everybody gets the nutrition satisfied. Similarly, if we satisfy Krishna, which is compared as the root of the whole universe, if we satisfy him, everybody else becomes joyful and they all become satisfied. Just like when we put food in the stomach, all the other parts of the body satisfies. It's the same example. So here, instead of praising the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, Vena blaspheme the Supreme Person Krishna, and it's not appreciated at all. So that's why the sages become very angry, and later on they will kill him. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Eko bahunam viditati kama. The Lord is supplying the needs of everyone, and he specifically awarded this opportunity to Vena, because nothing can happen without the will of the Lord. So by the grace of the Lord, Vena had become king. But then he used the post to blaspheme the Lord himself. This is biting the hand that feeds you. The height of ingratitude to receive blessings from the Lord and use those blessings to defame the Lord is, again, vicious and vile and ungrateful and shameless. Similarly, if one achieves something by the grace of the spiritual master, it gets some position, some authority, and then blasphemes the spiritual master, then how low one has gone. By the grace of the spiritual master, one attains some prestige, some honor, some authority, and then one uses that position to overstep the spiritual master, criticize the spiritual master, or try to dislodge and replace the spiritual master. Oh, how fallen one is. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Akandra Prabhu, would you like to read the next verse?
Sure, thank you. Let me just post it in the chat here. Okay. So Itam vyavasita hantum rishayo rudhamanyavaha nijagnur hunkritayar venang hatam achutanindaya. The great sages, thus manifesting their covert anger, immediately decided to kill the king. King Vena was already as good as dead due to his blasphemy against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, without using any weapons, the sages killed King Vena simply by high-sounding words. Hum kritai, by angry words or by sounds of hum. Sonic weaponry. Certainly the sort of thing the governments would like to harness and use to their nefarious ends. Hum krita.
The subtle weapon.
Maharaj, anything from your side on this?
His sounding words is a little odd, but the meaning is clear from the word for word meaning and from the purport, from the context. Heavy words, strong words, or powerful words, or just by the sound it's that's a pretty powerful it could kill the king. Angry words, probably says angry words. That's the meaning.
Maharaj, I'm sorry.
Please go ahead, Kendra.
Oh, I was just thinking that since the choice of words here is high-sounding words, one might draw the conclusion that what we're talking about is something that's very high in the frequency spectrum.
I don't really know. High sounding, I don't have it right before me in the dictionary, but it usually means that one is being pretentious, that one is speaking with ornate language or elevated language in defense of some position which is undeserving of, undeserving. So high-sounding words, like if I were to speak as if I were the President of the United States, or if I present some crazy proposal, but in sophisticated language, that would be high-sounding words. So that's the term that Prabhupada used here, but clearly he doesn't intend that meaning. The meaning is angry words, and whether it was like, whether they uttered in a high pitch, that I can't say. There's no indication of that.
When I first read this, that was my thought, since I had experience of loud volumes of music at high frequencies, so causing pain. So certainly, and Panchatattva Prabhu has several things to say in the chat about this.
Panchatattva Prabhu writes, even though the sages were angry, it was covert until manifested here. And then Panchatattva Prabhu writes, meaning of language or ideas, extravagant and lofty, high sounding.
Yeah. That's clearly not what's intended. Also, deserves to die because he's blasphemed the Chuta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chuta Nimde. So he deserves to die. In the previous verse, RSC, I think it was mentioned. Maybe it's here. Anyway, he deserves to die. That's clear. And yes, their anger was covert. They held it in abeyance or suppressed it because they thought it wise to approach the king in a humble manner and try to persuade him to the right path. But when that proved useless, then forget covering our anger, we'll blast him. And so they did. Hare Krishna.
Being Krishna Prabhu writes, today we do not have such power, so how will the demonic governments be overthrown?
Well, there's a question for those who take up the project. Of course, our general method is Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. We chant the holy name of the Lord and we leave it to Krishna to deal with such matters. And people don't realize, the demons don't realize how powerfully the sound of the holy name undermines the false values of their misdirected civilization. What a, what's the word? Revolutionary effect it can have. Distributing these books is a revolutionary act. Distributing books glorifying the personality of Godhead in a godless or demonic civilization is a provocative and seditious act. But so that's our usual approach. We'll distribute our books, we'll chant the holy name, we'll teach about real values and about the real duty of kings and government heads. We'll speak about these things boldly. But yet Prabhupada does make that singular statement that it's the duty of a saintly person to upset the government, which means overturn it. So in the event that one takes up that mission, well, we leave it to him to decide what strategies to undertake.
Panchatattva Prabhu writes, still waters run deep.
Mm.
Kendra Prabhu writes, Sango Pangastra Har Sadam.
Mm. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could have overthrown the Muslim government of the time, but he instead overthrows the demonic mentality of the people of Kali Yuga. Sangha Pangastra, these are his weapons, his associates. Elsewhere, Prabhupada writes that by spreading Krishna consciousness, people become, when we spread Krishna consciousness, people become enlightened. And then in a democratic setup, they demand a God-conscious ruler or God-conscious head of state. So that may also be there, considerably short of assassination and violent overthrow. By distributing the message of Krishna, we enlighten people so that if they vote, they'll want to vote for a person who's spiritually qualified as well as materially capable.
We have a hand from Panchatattva Prabhu.
I don't know the source or veracity of this statement, but I've heard it sometimes that Srila Prabhupada said, if they knew what I was up to, they would kill me.
We have heard that. The spiritual teachers are the true revolutionaries. They bring about a revolution in a misdirected civilization. Even if they don't take up grenades and weapons, other weapons, they bring about a revolution by their teaching.
Praveen Krishna Prabhu writes, what does that mean? I think that question appeared at the time of Panchatattva Prabhu speaking, but I'm not sure. Praveen Krishna Prabhu writes, they would kill me.
The still waters run deep. That seems to be the phrase in question. Panchatattva Prabhu could explain his context there.
I think Praveen clarified they would kill me but in a follow-up comment.
Oh, I see. It's not still waters run deep, but you might as well explain that also.
Sure. It's an expression that is generally applied when you're talking about someone who's very deep in knowledge or consistently elevated in consciousness. There's a tendency for them not to overreact to things, not to be so highly emotive, and sometimes to be so powerful that even if they raise an eyebrow at you, you get the message. They don't have to act up or be loud or talkative. They communicate effectively with a minimum of flamboyance, and they're deep in character. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So the next verse, 35, I'm wondering if Pratipurna Madhavi Mataji is available.
Yes, Rosa. Rishibhe swashram padam rate putra kalevaram sunita palayam aso vidya yogena shochati. Translation. After all the sages returned to their respective hermitages, the mother of King Vena, Sunita, became very much aggrieved because of her son's death. She decided to preserve the dead body of her son by the application of certain ingredients and by chanting mantras. Mantra Yogena. Maharaj, any comments?
We saw this also in the case of Satyajit, that when Satyajit, the mother of Satyabhama, was murdered, then Satyabhama had his body preserved in oil so that Krishna would come back and see, or so that when Krishna came back, he would see and take revenge. Apart from that, this doesn't reflect well on Sunita, I guess. Her son is a rogue, but well, it's the nature of a mother to lament over the death of the son, however much a rogue he may be. There's no comment on why she preserved his body. Sometimes people in the bodily concept of life want to do that. They want to preserve the body as long as possible, even after it's dead. But there's no comment. But it turns out fortunate that she did this. Hare Krishna.
Text 36. Ekada munesteto sarasvato salilakritah Utvagnim satakatha shakro upavishta saritapate. Translation. Once upon a time, the same saintly persons, after taking their bath in the river Saraswati, began to perform their daily duties by offering oblations into the sacrificial fires. After this, sitting on the bank of the river, they began to talk about the transcendental person and his pastimes. Should I read next verse?
Well, I'll just comment that Prabhupada, the verse says Satkata, and Prabhupada elaborates that they began to talk about the transcendental person and his pastimes. This is Satkata, to glorify Krishna, to speak about Krishna or the personality of Godhead, his name, his form, his qualities, his pastimes, his associates, everything concerning the Lord. This is Satkata, transcendental subject matters. And this is the business of sages, to discuss Satkata, not let their tongues be prostitutes by speaking all rubbish, but to engage the tongue in speaking about the pastimes of the Lord.
Text 37. Viksho hitam stadotpatam ahuryoga bhayankara api abhadram anodhaya dasyubhyo no bhavet bhuvaha. Translation. In those days, there were various disturbances in the country that were creating a panic in society. Therefore, all the sages began to talk amongst themselves. Since the king is dead and there is no protector in the world, misfortune may befall the people in general on account of robbers and thieves. Purport. Whenever there is a disturbance in the state or a panic situation, the property and lives of the citizens become unsafe. This is caused by the uprising of various thieves and robbers. At such a time, it is to be understood that the ruler or the government is dead. All of these misfortunes happened due to the death of King Vena. Thus, the saintly persons became very anxious for the safety of people in general. The conclusion is that even though saintly persons have no business in political affairs, they are always compassionate upon the people in general. Thus, even though they are always aloof from society, out of mercy and compassion, they consider how the citizens can peacefully execute their rituals and follow the rules and regulations of Varnashram Dharma. That was the concern of these sages. In this, in this age of Kali, everything is disturbed. Therefore, saintly persons should take to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra as recommended in the Shastras. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Kevalam, Kalau Naste Vagati Ranmadham. Both for spiritual and material prosperity, everyone should devotedly chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Om Kyantavarandasya Gyanam Shalaka Chakshuram Yalpam Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. So this reminds me of an incident that happened a few years back. And there was one devotee who faced a lot of trouble in the group he was leading. And then he shared that first he wanted to immediately take some action and ensure what exactly went behind the scene, wanted to know the details and everything. But it struck him that no, I will pray to the Lord, I'll take shelter of the Lord. And he shared that even during any management meetings that he would be in, if there was any heated up discussion, he would always try to pray and take shelter of what is talked about in the scriptures coming to the rather than thinking what solution I can offer to this problem. So in the previous verse, it is mentioned that they were offering oblations into sacrificial fires and also discussing Hari Katha, and that can provide the actual solution to the problems of society. And um, that is the only means through which we can do welfare of all the citizens. Um, this also is very similar to the situations we are facing right now with countries fighting amongst themselves because there is no Brahmana leading the Kshatriyas. There is no real Brahmana who is educated in this matter who can lead the Kshatriyas to actually find a solution to the problems. And people are actually suffering very much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I've mentioned before that I sometimes visit countries where the government is dead and therefore there's no law and order. But what Prabhupada says here about dead government is not theoretical. We see again the compassion of the sages for the people in such difficulties. We're sort of back where we started because the sages saw that after Anga had left, the thieves and rogues were taking over. So they put Vena on the throne, but Vena misused his royal position so badly that the sages had to assassinate him. And now we're back to where we started, that the people are being harassed by thieves and rogues. So again, they have to do something. But here it's noteworthy that Srila Prabhupada chooses not to pursue a discussion of taking matters into one's own hand by murdering a wayward ruler or in some other way overturning the government. He speaks to this point that to set things right, the best means is to spread the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And if we're genuinely concerned about the welfare, people's welfare, this is what we should do. Hare Krishna.
See, there was a question, but it's also almost 8 p.m. So, yeah, I need to leave at around 8 p.m. So, but maybe others want to stay. Kendra Prabhu, what do you think?
Well, Panchatattva Prabhu says there are some brahmanas today who can advise very expertly, but who will accept the guidance? I'm not sure if that's a rhetorical question or actual question.
Well, that could be a matter for discussion, but we try to be pretty strict about our time limits, and that discussion would be more than a minute or so.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll leave it as a rhetorical question for now.
Okay. Thanks, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
It's becoming more rhetorical every moment.
Are you able to lead a kirtan, Prabhu?
Yeah, sure. I'm so glad to be out of the van.
We're glad you're out of the van.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privrajacharya Astotra Sata Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privrajacharya Astotra Sata Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaura Premanande.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Panchatattva Prabhu. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for being with us. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here and participating. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj Ki Jai.
Oh, muted.
Oh, Maharaj, you're muted. Hare Krishna.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaura Premanande.
Haribo.
Oh, Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.